It is Wolf and Luke on a Friday afternoon, and joining us in studio, Wolf, Jody Jackson, Luis Gonzalez.
Jody and Luis.
The way you said that, I'm embarrassed now. Like, I'm not even.
Did you want me to say it in the other order?
I'm sitting next to him. That's
Jody,
as
you've been
close as
around
I can
longer
get.
than all of us out here doing covering sports.
I guess that's true. No, I'm kidding.
These are probably the two best people to talk to today, honestly, because Jody, nobody cares more than Jody, and Jody brings the positivity.
It took me an hour for my face and neck to get unstraight. You know when you're stressed out? And I was driving in to get my daughter from softball last night. It took me an hour for everything to just calm down.
Just incredible.
I was stressed.
Can I ask you guys, where do you start when you think of game 3, of the NLCS? Where do you start? What is the first thought you have, Gonzo?
I think we were just fortunate enough to get that W yesterday. We had a lot of opportunities, missed opportunities. And Pfaadt pitched fantastic. He stepped up. We needed the youngster to come up with a big game, and he did. I mean, he was lights out for us for, 2 times around the order before the third time. Oh, my God. I about had a heart attack up in the –
Jody,
jeez, I was one of the guys booing Torrey. He was talking about booing. I was booing him, too.
Yeah, we want to get into that a little more. But to answer your question, I was driving out of the ballpark. And Pfaadt was incredible. I was so proud of him. We've all watched him this year. Gonzo's been on a lot of the trips doing the games with Steve. And he's gotten so much better. And he just goes out there. And I was like, they were swinging out of their shoes. Castellanos got spun around. It was awesome to watch. So I was so proud of him. And then it was so tense. And then I was driving out and I thought, that is the second best bottom of the 9th inning I've ever seen.
Cool.
Really not at Chase Field, just in playoff baseball. And, of course, number 1 being Gonzo in the World Series.
Yep.
But it's like the build, when that inning began, Lourdes came up, right? It was Lourdes, right? I think, and I said, gosh, if he would, it was a lot of stress, this game, okay? And then I thought, well, if he could just hit a homer here, that'd be great. But really, would it have been? Would it have been great?
Yeah,
because the
I
drama,
would have taken it at the time.
the drama was incredible, and that was what was similar. That's what hit me first about this game is just the way it unfolded. And anytime you get it, I don't care how good the closer is. We saw Mariano Rivera, Craig Kimbrell, every ball they throw, every pitch you lay off, every base runner you can collect against a guy like that, you get a higher percentage of being able to win that game because the closer's job is keeping everything in order. Even Sewald against the Dodgers in the one game, the 2 that were closer, I forget which one it was, but he had 1, 2, 3 bottom, and I thought, don't get to Mookie. And even though, if you have 2 outs, it's fine usually, right? But he had no outs for this. The way this was building, I thought, God, this might happen, and and that's to me the frenzy of it, Gonzo, and you obviously were. You made it happen. You were the guy. I'm curious. Can I ask him a question?
Yes, do it. Let's get crazy.
Because Ketel yesterday was kind of like, I'm not a pressure guy. What were you thinking? I know you've talked about this before. Randy this morning said when he came in from the bullpen, he said, don't mess it up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too. Don't screw this up. You got one chance.
That's a negative thought, but you thrive on that, right? You thrive on,
you say it after you're focused in. I mean, Randy, whatever he said this morning, but as a professional athlete, you don't think about failure. You think about
do your job. I'm
going to do my job. If I don't do it, the guy behind me is going to pick me up, and that's the mentality that you have to have. And I think Ketel, when he went up there to the plate, he said, "I'm having a great game. I'm having a great series. I'm having a great playoffs. I'm going to win this game right here." And he was not going to be denied the fact that he was going to do something and make something happen. And for him to do that, it was pretty rewarding and satisfying to everyone in the stadium. And that's what makes me so happy is, we won the World Series 20-something years ago. So this new generation has not had something really to grasp on. The year after, the Cardinals were 1 play away from winning the Super Bowl. The Suns were really close a few years ago of winning the NBA championship. That didn't happen. I want this generation to have that parade. Mm-hmm. Whether it's us or any other team, hopefully it's us, but if it's any other team in the Valley, so they can experience what our generation, the older generation, got to experience of having that. Because we talk about it all the time, and the kids go, I don't know what that I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you think Ketel is the most underrated of the Diamondbacks? I mean, in the lineup for the most part. Do you think it's Ketel Marte? Do you think he gets his due?
When he is on, he is probably one of the most dominant players in the league. There's an article that came out today with him and I. We had a conversation after he didn't get selected for the All-Star game, that disappointment. And I told him, it happened to me one year here with the Diamondbacks. I felt like I should have been in the All-Star game, and I wasn't. Numbers catch up to you, and they crunch you out because of, they need to take so-and-so, how many players from certain teams and stuff, and he just got edged out, and then he saw Perdomo go. He got added late because he was a shortstop.
Yeah.
They didn't need a second baseman. And, I tried to tell him, don't lose focus of the big picture, and the big picture is postseason because that's your teammates. These are the guys you're in the trenches with each and every day. And when you're with those guys, at the end of the day, that's the most rewarding part. You can go to the All-Star game and you talk to other guys and things like that, but the guys you're in there every single day in the locker room. You're working every day for something positive to try to get to that next level, to try to get to a championship game. And for him to rebound and be the guy right now, he's red hot right now. And to be the guy that the other team is going, don't let this guy beat you. And he's still going out there and getting hits. It's pretty rewarding for him.
I love that you helped him. And I'm going to toot this guy's horn for a minute because he's unbelievable the way he helps the guys. And everyone sees.
Well,
I know you're not looking for this, but when I see you on the road and you kind of come up to a guy and you tell him, it means so much to them. Yeah. And you have all this knowledge. And I love that. It's such a valuable asset to this franchise.
Well, you try to be positive. I don't want to be that guy, walking through the clubhouse and say, hey, I need to talk to you over here or whatever. I'm not that type of player. I stay out of the way. I'm not gonna offer advice, unless they say, hey, what am I doing or can you help me or something like that. I'm not going to do that because these guys are pros. They've a lot of them are very young, but I don't want them to make the same mistakes I did. That's the same way with my kid. He's in the minor leagues. I try to tell him it's a little different when you're the dad and not a former player talking to another player. When you're dad talking to son, it's a little bit different. But, with Ketel, I just felt like there's so much more in him that he needs to, let come out. And this is his coming out party right here. I mean, people now across the country know who he is. Everybody's been talking about Corbin Carroll, and I'm sure he feels like, hey, man, I'm second fiddle here. I'm going to show people who I am, and he's really doing a great job with it.
Jody Jackson, Luis Gonzalez joining us in studio for this hour. Let's get into Brandon Pfaadt. And, Jody, I'll start with you this time. His last 2 starts, 10 innings, 11 strikeouts, 4 hits, 0 runs, and they've been playoff games against the Dodgers lineup and the Phillies lineup. So what just happened?
It's been incredible. He's really stepped up. And it kind of reminded me of what everyone's been saying about these D-backs are so young, they might not know what they're doing. That's what he looks like out there. He's just focused on the job, right? You're not sensing anything from him. Is he unsure? Is he not? And yesterday, I think even much more, considering how hot the Phillies have been, than what he did against the Dodgers. And he has had, I will say, it's been nice. He's had the 2 home games. They've only had the 2 home games. He's had both of them. Yeah. I'm sure, Zach Gallen, who was much better at home than on the road this season, would have liked that as well. But he was surgical yesterday. He did not give them anything juicy over the plate, which was so impressive to me, Gonzo.
Yeah, I think for him, he's really turned the corner secondary pitches. He gave up a lot of home runs when he first came into the league, trying to overpower with the fastball, and he throws it up in the zone, and because he couldn't get anything else over. And then he's been really working hard. He's been up and down a couple times. He worked hard, and you could see the difference yesterday when he got ahead of the guys with the secondary stuff. He elevated that fastball just outside of the strike zone where guys couldn't catch up to it. And when you have that velocity, when he was throwing it a lot, his fastball, when you get to the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning, that's when he was getting in trouble. And you could see now teams are going up there trying to be a little more aggressive with him because they know he's got a good secondary pitch, and his pitch count, he had 60, 70 pitches his first couple starts in the 2nd or 3rd inning.
Yeah.
He didn't walk a guy. He's not a guy that walks guys anyway.
Yeah.
But, again, against that kind of scary lineup, right, that really impressed me. 9 strikeouts, no walks.
Yeah.
For me, guys, it's just I've been talking about it for the last few days, the road less traveled This is the Diamondback way right here. It would just make so much sense that Zach Allen didn't do it. Merrill Kelly didn't do it. Again, I'm not trying to say they had poor or really bad outings, but for them, I think they both would agree they struggled a little bit. And then all of a sudden, Brandon Pfaadt is going to come here and take the ball on a red-hot team, a team like the Phillies who've been lighting it up. It just seemed like, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense with this team. The anomaly would actually happen. He would take the ball and go out there and shut them down. And that's exactly what he did. This team's got they've got a weird mojo.
You're right.
Gonzo.
Yeah, and Jody could tell you, we've been on the plane after games and go, man, they look so good going into the city, and then they get swept, and then they'll win 5, and then they lose 4, and then, it was like that all year. There was no okay, who's going to be the stopper here? We're on a 2-game losing streak. Somebody's going to come in and pitch well. Then we'll turn it around and win a couple. It never really happened like that. It was either win a bunch of games, then lose a bunch of games. And there was never, that kind of steady up and down kind of season. It was either real high peaks and valleys throughout the year.
Is that better for the playoffs in a weird way? I guess as long as you're on a peak.
Well, it is,
right?
if you're on the peak right now. We lost the 2 games. Hopefully we get on the peak now and win about 5 or 6 in a row. That'd be nice.
The thing is just when the offense disappears at times, that can be a bit scary. But again, it does happen to all teams at some points during the season. Luckily, that stretch of the 9 straight losses came to an end the night that you guys had the 25th anniversary. Torrey had the meeting the night before. Gallen was pitching that day. That put a stop to that, and then it kind of went up from there. But it's just the key was probably that was really the key to not let that stretch on any longer. Because if you look at the way the season ended, you're right, Wolf, to your point, they're not even here if the Cubs don't completely melt down.
Yeah.
They're not even here if they don't, they had the nice road trip, Colorado, San Diego, because they did lose some games late, and, they were kind of up and down. But luckily, and frankly, getting the Brewers in the wild card, and it's been kind of magical.
Yeah, it has. We were talking about that earlier.
Is that another word you would use there?
Baseball has that magic, and we're seeing. Even we were playing the Cup before. Greg Schulte calling the hit yesterday. That was just cool to hear him get to call that hit. Gonzo, players like Brandon Pfaadt, when you guys won the World Series, everybody looks at Gonzo and Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling, and all the big names. But you got to have guys that are a little lesser known nationally, let's say, that step up.
Glue guys. We like to call them the glue guys, the Craig Counsels and guys like that. Batistas and guys that hold the team together. Everybody always focuses on the main players. It's the other guys that, if they lose focus on them, those are the guys that are going to snake bite you and go out there and win games for us. And it happened yesterday. Pavin Smith coming in.
Goodness.
I'm sure everybody was.
How did he even swing the bat? The guys had 3 at bats
in a month,
Or actually 6 because he had 3 walks as well, right? But
2 of those 3 at bats were yesterday. So going into the game yesterday,
I know, and for Torrey to have the confidence in him and say,
"Yes,
I'm going to pull the trigger, and this is the guy I'm going to put in." I'm sure everybody in the stands is going, "Oh my God, this guy hasn't played in forever," or whatever. And then all of a sudden he's in there, and he gets a big hit for us.
It was absolutely incredible right now. When I was thinking of not only Pavin Smith, of course, there's so many other factors that come into play with this. What do you think a guy like Brandon Pfaadt is going to be able to do with the outing he had? Because what confidence can do for an individual right now. And I think, Jody, Brandon Pfaadt is going to get better in the long term, in the long run. I think he just took a step forward in regard to actually furthering his career.
Well, all he needs to do is, if he's a guy that looks at Twitter or whatever, or X, there's analysts today saying he's got better stuff than Gallen and Kelly. Based on yesterday, because, yes, when the stuff is on, and, but we could say the same for Zach, but he wasn't on. Zach got hit. Merrill did okay. Gave up a couple solo shots, but it was Pfaadt who executed the best. And whether that was because he was home and whatever helped him, I don't even care, right? It's just he did it. He did it, and it's so interesting to me that they kept saying, Torrey, but also Mike Hazen, you're going to pitch in meaningful games later this year, and you're thinking, okay, he just gave up 3 homers in this game, or, and look at he pitched the most meaningful
Yes.
game so far, and the most
Unbelievable.
meaningful game since 01. It was the first NLCS win since 01.
It was basically a must-win. I mean, nobody really wanted to come out and say we have to win this game, but basically we did. If we're down 3-0 right now, it's pretty much everybody's packing their bags already, because it's pretty hard to beat a team like the Phillies 4 games in a row.
Especially with the way that played out, too. We were talking about this earlier. Like, once Pfaadt gives you that performance and you don't score the extra run in the 7th inning, it was like, well, if it wasn't a must-win before, you better win now
Right.
with what's happening in this game.
Look now how the series has changed in Texas.
Yes.
I mean, everybody was going, the Rangers are just rolling through, and then Houston just kind of boom, boom, and here
the
they are.
Astros hit better in Globe Life
Yeah,
in the
they're
Rangers ballpark
I think they're
than anywhere.
8-1, 7-1 or 8-1.
They just pile up runs that happened in a series in the regular season too,
Yeah.
near the end, and they just blew the Rangers out. But real quick, to your point again, Wolf. So next year when Brandon Pfaadt is in Philly or in LA, and I mean, what's he going to say? How's he going to doubt himself now?
Right.
He knows what he can do.
What is that going to be like? Once again, the confidence that I think he can actually gain from this outing and apply it to next season. I think it's really, really a still point moment for him. I had
Or
one
apply it to Game 7 here in a few days,
exactly
hopefully.
right.
Well, yeah, good point.
The big,
When he's in Philly,
the
like
big
in a few
thing
days.
for these young guys on our team, we're in the Final Four.
Yeah.
So West Coast, not a lot of people knew about a lot of guys on our team. We're getting national exposure now. We're playing on all the main games. And now people are starting to realize, hey, these guys, we don't know who the heck they are, but they're pretty good.
Yeah.
We got blown out in Game 2, and that's going to happen once in a while. We did it to the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta when we were playing in the playoffs. But these guys have rebounded. They've shown that they can stick together. They find a way to get it done, and here they are now, having a chance to hopefully tie the series tonight.
All right, well, yesterday was a lot of fun, obviously, and it was thrilling and it was stressful, as Jody said, but it was also really enjoyable when they ultimately won the game. So there will be at least a Game 5 tomorrow and maybe beyond, and maybe you can still win the series, certainly. It's only 2-1. Jody Jackson, Luis Gonzalez joining us in studio right now for this NLCS roundtable. And Gonzo, I'll just start here. I mean, you got Game 4 tonight. This is the beauty of baseball, right? You don't get to enjoy that win for a week or anything. You go right back at it tonight and right back at it tomorrow. And we know Zach Gallen will pitch tomorrow, but tonight's a little bit different with Joe Mantiply opening, and then who knows after that. But what in your mind is the biggest thing they have to do tonight to keep this going?
Score early. I think for us, we just got to get on the board. Our team plays better when we get on the board early. They just relax a little bit more. They take more chances. They're more aggressive on the base paths. You could see in Philly, we were a little timid out there a little bit. I don't know if it was just the element of, where we were playing and guys were all grasping it in. They had heard about the crowd, how hostile it was going to be and things like that. So sometimes that'll play a little bit into the mentality. But when we got home and played yesterday's game, our fans, man, they bring it. When they have to bring it, they do. And I've seen it for the Cardinals. I've seen it for the Coyotes. I've seen it for the Suns. And definitely seen it for the Diamondbacks. When we were doing it in the World Series, we were down 3-2, and they were a big part of Game 6 and 7 for us going out there on the field. And we walked out. And I remember one of the clubhouse kids running in going, guys, you guys got to go out on the field and see what's happening out there before Game 6. And when we walked out, they had the white towels, and I was like, oh, my God, this is incredible. And they did it again yesterday. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I hope it's going to be, the same tonight. I know it's Friday. And yesterday, 2:00, look, it was a legitimate issue, right? A little bit. Not a great, but the fans came out, and it was incredible. And tonight, being a Friday night, I imagine a lot of people have been looking forward to this, that they couldn't get out there yesterday. They're looking forward to this tonight and tomorrow. And, yeah, I think jump on this team early. And, look, Christopher Sanchez, he's 26 years old. He's kind of young pitcher. He's had 41 games in his career. He hasn't thrown a pitch in a game since September 30th. So, look, he's been throwing bullpens. He's been facing some live batters, but he hasn't pitched in a game since September 30th.
Yeah.
An inning of relief.
Yes.
That goes into what Gonzo's saying. Like, you jump on this guy early.
So, I mean, again, he's nasty. He's got a great changeup. He's a sinker baller like Ranger Suarez was. Ranger Suarez is just kind of this cool, calm customer. You know, he's kind of an underdog guy and gets the job done. I don't know about Sanchez. I mean, he's got good stuff, but Gonzo, that doesn't always mean anything. He's got to execute pitches, and maybe he's not going to be sharp if he hasn't pitched in a game.
Our analytics department's got to be going crazy because nobody has at-bats against him on our team. So
You love this, though. You love talking about the analytics.
I do.
Do you not?
You know what?
You're not a big analytics.
I'm not a big
guy,
analytics.
correct?
I'm old school, but there are some parts to it. I just think a lot of times we overanalyze situations.
What, human beings, you mean?
Yeah, like
who, us? Are you kidding me?
We the human element, you still got to go out there and play. You still got to perform and things like that. And sometimes we pigeonhole guys into, you know, like when I hear guys say my probability is I should be hitting 290, and I'm like, yeah, but you're hitting 220.
Yeah.
So that doesn't. That's 70 points difference. Your probability. How about just going out there and doing it?
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, yeah. You know, hard hit balls off the bat, 110. That's great. We could talk about it all day long, but was it a hit? No, it wasn't a hit. It was a line out. So that's an out. You know?
I need to start using this in my everyday life, where if I'm not successful, be like, yeah, but I could be successful.
You
I'm just
could.
not.
Yeah, my mom said I was going to be a gazillionaire, but I'm not. But
So, yeah, I know. I got to write that down right there, Luke. That's good. How about the opener as Mantiply? How do you feel about this right here, going with Joe Mantiply?
Well, just off the top of my head, I remember that they did it twice that I can remember in the season. Once it didn't work, and once it did work. So, you know, but again, a bullpen game, and I'll ask Gonzo this because, again, the many times during the regular season, you know, me as a reporter, I kind of go into that clubhouse. Okay, you guys got a bullpen. You're going to face a bullpen game from the other team today, you know, and you kind of think on paper like that's an advantage, right? Because it's not one of their main starters. It's not an ace. It's not another solid guy. And yet, sometimes you end up in that clubhouse post game, and they did not hit any of these guys in the bullpen. So, and then what the guys will tell you was, well, they were changing it up. You always see someone, you don't get a chance to adjust. Does any of that hold true, do you think, tonight? Or how can the D-backs make that work for them, Gonzo?
So here, I'm not in there with Torrey and those guys, so I don't know what's going on in there. But this is what I'm thinking. Everybody is all hands on deck, the bullpen. And I don't know if he's already gone out saying you're going to get the second inning and the third. I think what he's going to do is see what Mantiply does first couple innings or whatever, maybe one inning, whatever they decide to do, and then start going matchups all the way through as long as you could take you through with these guys. And whether that helps or hurts, we'll soon find out. But, you know, it's hard when you have an opener like this that, you know, Mantiply is not going to go deep into the game unless everybody goes up there first ball swinging, and then you can, you know, run them out there for another couple innings. But for the most part, I think he'll look at the lineup and see who's coming up. If he's in the bottom of the order, will it be JT and Marsh and those guys from the Phillies, Pfaadt? And then he say, okay, this guy might be a good matchup for him. Or if there's runners, you know, in second and third, and he's got certain guy coming up, and he'll look at matchups and see who's going to work out best. I think if you're a bullpen guy today, you got to be ready from the jump start and say, okay, you know, I got to stay hot here. I got to keep my mind into the game.
To that point right there, though, Gonzo, do they typically tell these guys before you're going to pitch today? You're definitely going to do that. Do they typically do that on a bullpen day?
I would hope, as a bullpen guy, you're in the postseason play, I would hope that everybody's expecting that their number is going to get called eventually and not get caught by not paying attention, and then, oh, my God, they just called my number because I didn't think I was going to throw. So
whether they tell you or not,
I think you have to mentally be prepared to come into that game, whether they say, hey, you're off today or not. Well, I don't know of any pitcher right now that they say, I don't think they would tell anybody that they're off unless the pitcher goes in there and says, I'm a little sore, I can't go. Yeah. But I would expect that everybody is full hands on deck. You got the whole off season to rest after. And be ready to get in there and do whatever you can to try to help your team win a game.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of bullpen, we're going to have Paul Sewald on later. Anything we should ask him? Anything specific you guys want us to throw at him? He's joining us.
He's great, man.
He's been awesome.
He's been really good for the clubhouse guys, the bullpen. I know he's not your prototypical overpowering type guy. Like he sits in 92, 93, but he gets it done and he knows what he's doing when he's out there. He's got those guys are a different breed, man. The closers in games, they're just different.
Yeah, he's getting better, it seems, too, as the playoffs go on.
Yeah.
The tougher this gets on paper, the better he seems to be getting.
He hadn't thrown in 9 days.
Yeah, he's been
And then he came in the game, and I'm like, oh, my God, we haven't pitched him in 9 games, and we're going to throw him right in the deep end of the water right here.
Trey Turner and Bryce Harper?
Yeah.
No problem at all, right?
I wonder if Thompson will switch up the lineup based on the opener being late. I wouldn't think so because you got a long way to go in the game. If Joe, but anytime you see lefties, powerful lefties at the top of a lineup, you're going to see a lefty opener.
Yeah, I was
hopefully
worried.
Joe can get those guys out.
I was worried yesterday when we switched the lineup up.
Yeah.
I'm not a big lineup change guy. I'll tell you guys that too.
I love this.
I'm more, and I always say this. We had a lot of lineups during the year. We went to the playoffs. We kept the same lineup.
Yeah.
And we start winning. The only 2 guys we were rotating was the 1-2 guys, left-hander, right-hander. Corbin would hit second, and Marte. Those were the only 2 guys, and because guys, to me, have to have a routine. You're on a steady roll. You know what the guy in front, you know who's hot, you know who's not. If I'm not swinging well, the guy behind me knows that. Or if I'm swinging a hot bat, he knows they're going to pitch around me, and you're going to get those ABs. So I'm going to work the walk. And, like Harper right now, we walked him a few times. The guy behind him has to know.
He knows what's coming.
I better pick my game up because they're going to be pitching to me now. These are crucial times of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just
some connectivity right there.
It's more about repetition and knowing your role on the team. When you start coming to the ballpark and, I'm hitting first today, and then I'm hitting 7th, and then I'm hitting 6th. There's no flow in your mind. Like when I left the ballpark, I knew the next day that I'm in the lineup hitting 3rd.
Yeah.
There's no you don't have to wonder. Oh, man, I hope I'm in the game tomorrow. No, my mind was already thinking. When that last out was made that night before, I'm already thinking about who I'm facing tomorrow, what my job is, what I got to do. Those are the great players because they're already, you have your family routines and things like that, but you have a job to do, and your job is to feed your family and feed that team out there to do what you got to do. And you want to eat good, you got to go out there and perform.
Before we go any further with this, because I didn't get to ask it in the first segment, we ran out of time. Gonzo, I got to ask you.
I think Wolf and I are related somehow, some way. Sports-wise, we're related.
There's definitely some similarities here. I don't know what's going on.
Unbelievable.
I want to go back to Ketel Marte, though, for a second, because it struck me as that's all playing out yesterday, and he's coming up in the bottom of the 9th. You're the only person there that knows what it feels like. What are you thinking when he's coming up to bat in that situation?
I felt pretty good for him. I mean, guy throws good fastballs, kind of struggling with his command, Kimbrel, and he got a fastball up and did exactly. And he's been swinging the hottest bat on the team.
Yeah.
So when you got a guy like that coming to the plate with bases loaded, we failed a couple times. We had a guy on 3rd with less than 2 outs, I think, twice in that game, hitting a double play and couldn't get the runs in. So when he was coming in, I had a good feeling that he was going to win the game and end it right there. We were hoping, too.
Yeah.
So is that kind of the secret sauce as well, that you beat their closer? Is that something you remember as a team? You know what I mean? You came back and you beat their guy. Does that have any impact the rest of this series?
I think so. I think that's huge for, the mental aspect of the game for them. Perdomo, once again, big part of that inning.
That was a big walk.
Big walk. He's been doing that all year. I mean, he's been the rally starter, hitting 9th. He's been the guy. When we have those big rallies, it's usually the 8th or 9th guy starting, and he's usually in the middle of that mix. And he works a 3-2 count, gets a walk, and he's right in the middle of it every single time. So he's been really good for us down in that bottom part of the order.
That at bat, I remember, I think he swung at a curveball, and I was like, don't swing at that, Jerry. And then he did. The next one, he didn't swing at it. And I was like, all right, he's locked in. He's locked in.
He tried to ambush him early is what he did. He tried to get him early.
I love that 9th inning because it's just one of those scenarios where every pitch was so dramatic. It was so great.
We need to have like a Manning cast with Jody watching a baseball game. Because I had never really experienced it until earlier this year when that game in Wrigley. Remember, we were doing the show and Zach Gallen, it was his best game where he threw the shutout. But if you haven't watched baseball with Jody, it is a different experience.
So Luke and I saw that complete game right here, Zach's only complete game. at
right?
Wrigley that day, and I knew the wind. I know that was perfect conditions for that, but it was awesome to watch, and they needed that too.
I think the experience that these guys are going to gain this year is going to be invaluable now for the next few years of their careers. After this is over, like whether it ends after this series or they get to the World Series, they're going to be mentally exhausted because the focus that you have to have every single play, during the season, you're locked in, but you're like, oh, we got, we're playing a 3-game series and we got 162 games. This one is every pitch, every play, everything matters.
Every day.
Every day, it's a grind.
There's no break.
Your family gets put on the shelf for a couple days, and they understand that because that's what you sign up for, and they know that. And, my wife will tell you, when game days were coming in the playoffs, they didn't even talk to me. They just stayed in the other room, and they knew I was like yesterday. I got to the park early, and I was like, "Where are all the guys at, man? Where's everybody?" I was good to go.
I heard you couldn't
You guys
sleep.
are related.
Were
I
you
didn't
having
sleep.
trouble
No,
sleeping?
I couldn't sleep because I was
Wow.
excited. I was like, I felt like I was playing in the game. I know how excited these guys are, and I was like, "Where's everybody at, man?" It's 9:00 in the morning. I was here at like 7 for an 8:00 at night
You're
game.
sounding more and more like Wolf every
I
segment.
know, man. Well, Wolf's chewing on the table over here. I haven't gotten to that part.
It was so good, though. You know what was amazing as well, and we really haven't talked about this, but the Diamondbacks had 17 consecutive scoreless innings going into that 7th inning.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here it is. The Phillies score a run in that 7th inning. And what happens? They answer back.
Yeah.
Right? And that is something that we have seen all season long for the most part. When they were right, they would respond.
They find a way. And,
They find
and
a
we
way to
really
do
haven't
it.
shown our running game. We haven't had opportunities because nobody's really been getting on base to do that. Or if they do, it's been clogged up to where they're not our runners that are on base to try to steal. So they haven't shown the type of style or the style of baseball that we play. We play good defense.
Yeah.
And that's what helped get us here too. I mean, I think this has been one of their best defensive years in the history of our Diamondbacks organization.
That's what I love, too.
It's been great.
About a baseball team. I can't, it drives me crazy. This is my pet peeve about the game of baseball. Players who can't field their position.
Just say Kyle Schwarber's name. That's what you're gonna. You're saying
man.
Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
He was ugly out there in left field. He was,
Yeah.
during the regular season, and you're thinking, wow, because our outfielders, D-backs outfielders are so good.
Yeah.
You go to these other cities, you see these other, and you're like, or even at Chase, but you're kind of like, wow, how is he? But that's their best option, But the D-backs have built this on defense.
Yeah,
right?
and they've worked so hard. I mean, they're out there with Paris Chica and McKay and those guys every day out there grinding out. I mean, a lot of the focus is on hitting, but their defense is really what's helped them win a lot of games this year. And when you get in postseason play, those plays is what's going to help you win. You got to make, when you get that hard ground ball to you and for double plays and things like that. We saw the Phillies do it, man. Alec Boehm yesterday was a first ball that Gurriel hit past him down that line. It ended up helping us score a run, but that guy's been a human vacuum out here the first 2 games of the series until yesterday, where we finally slipped one by him down that third base line.
Yeah, even the first pitch yesterday against Ketel Marte,
Yeah,
he was
made
all
a great
over it.
play.
Torrey did talk about this afterwards, sort of what you guys are saying, that we haven't seen them play their best kind of baseball yet, whether it's the base running, if you want to call it an error or whatever, in the 7th inning, or what you're saying, Gonzo, they haven't gotten to be aggressive yet. So there's still time for them to do that. I mean, that's the beauty of winning yesterday. If they could do that today, that's something that Philadelphia hasn't even really seen from them yet.
Yeah, I think that when they press the issue, that's why I'm saying it's big for us if we get runs early, because then they play a little more free and loosened up. They're not as tight. The deeper we get in the games, everybody tenses up a little bit, and you're like, I don't want to be the guy to make the mistake. When you come up in that pressure situation in the at-bat, then they swing at a ball out of the zone, and instead of just calming, the bigger the moment, the more you have to breathe and calm down. And it's easy to say, it's hard to do sometimes when you got 50,000 people. You got to, and now you have a pitch clock, so you don't have that opportunity to get out of the box and take that deep breath and kind of decompress a little bit and get relaxed and get back in there. Everything is like go, 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 because now, we have the pitch clock and you got to get back on the mound and you got to get back in the batter's box. So you have to speed everything up in your mind, but you have to slow your body down. So it's kind of the yin and yang kind of thing when you're out there on the field.
Yeah, it's like a high wire act.
So your expectation for tonight? We've got like 1 minute left.
Wolf's asking for predictions. Here we go.
Not a prediction, an expectation.
Okay.
I think that. So I hope that they're going to get more base runners. Because it's really, let's be honest. Wheeler was cruising. Nola cruising. Ranger Suarez, there's a little more, but he was pretty in control. So they really still haven't scored many runs at all in this series. So I would hope that they can get some more base runners, get that game going, get the running game going. But I just think something weird is going to happen tonight. Really, really weird. I know a lot of weird things.
Not with this team.
I know a lot of weird things happened yesterday, like that double play, and you kind of alluded to it. And the D-backs, that was one of the strangest things. They did some analytics on that in the Jason Stark article that I read, and it literally was like never happened before. That
with
kind
the
of a double
infield drawn
play.
in and
But it helped, But again, they had, wasn't your speediest guys there. It was just it wasn't a great day base running, and yet. So there was some strange stuff, right? Ketel hadn't had a walk-off all season. He's only had, I think, one in the last couple seasons, and he gets the walk-off. He was the hottest hitter. But, I think something really, really wacky tonight. I don't know. Gonzo, what about you?
It would be weird if something weird didn't happen with
I
this
know,
team.
that's true.
I'm hoping early they figure out Sanchez, see how he's going to be. The first two hitters of the game, Corbin and Marte, is going to tell how he's going to approach these guys. And then they get their game plan quick. There's no time to try to figure out after one time around the order. We'll see if he's going to be aggressive on these guys early, like attacking them in the strike zone. And if he does, hopefully they can jump on him. And I'm thinking we may hit a couple long balls tonight and flip the table. And, instead of the Phillies hitting all the homers, hopefully it's us.
It'd be nice to actually have a lead.
Or like 4 home runs in an inning again. That was kind of fun.
A comfortable lead, Wolf. A comfortable lead.
Yes.
Fans are going to bring it tonight.
Yes.
I'm excited to see that again, too.
That should be fun.
Jody, Gonzo, this is great. Thanks for
Tom.
stopping by.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.